Alright, this one's the big test. We're going to take an actual position. Red has made their starting move. We've seen this red hand every game. Blue is a new hand we haven't seen before, though a very 7-6 oriented hand. And the question's going to be, blue has 3 ways to take red's starter, and I want you to pick which one you think is best, and specifically to justify your move by saying, 1, which way do you want to take the starter? Do you want to take from 2 or 4? And which card do you want to use to capture with? You have 3 different options here. And 2, after red recaptures their starter, where do you want to go next? We want to construct a plan. We're not just playing one move. We're not just capturing. We've seen some captures have been good, some captures have been terrible. Instead, we want to look a move further and say, okay, I'm going to capture this way, and then my follow-up is this card here, my intended follow-up. And we're going to now look through some possibilities, but you really want to have found, the sequence of moves. Here's my capture, here's my follow-up. For extra credit, though I won't talk about this, consider, well, maybe I'll talk a little, but if you capture their starter and they, instead of recapturing their starter, capture the card you just played from the other corner touching it, where would you go next? Again, won't go into that in much, if any, detail, but it would be good to spot that as well, because that's the other main threat to capturing an opponent's starters. So what we want to do is establish a plan, and I would love it if you paused the video and thought for a bit, what's the proper blue plan? Do you want to go in 2? Do you want to go in 4? Which card do you want to play? And what is your follow-up? So I'm going to go through some moves, and hopefully you pick the best plan, which I'll do last, and you can be bored along the way, but let's go through the moves. So here I didn't do an in-between diagram, but blue captured with blue dragon in 4, 6, 2, 7, 3, and red, per usual, captured back with under lizard. And this is already a pretty tough situation, and our standard expectations hold up here. For instance, should blue play in 5? No, blue should never play in 5. So here's an example of a move in 5. Where should red look first? Well, red has their vertical card remaining, not their horizontal, so the win is more likely to be in 7 than it is in 3. So the first move I would personally look at is 6, 7, 2, 3, and 7. But 4, 7, 6, 1, and 8 is a pretty good reply that's untouchable. Blue does manage to get a tie there. So the first move doesn't work. Where do we go next? We try 3. And 3, 2, 7, 6, and 3 does win. And if we didn't see that win, the third move we try is our vertical or horizontal as a backup corner, and 6, 2, 6, 3, and 7 does win here. So our first candidate move didn't win, but they can retake it safely. 4, 1, 7, 6 captures it, is safe out going in 8, but any other move we have of the main ones we look at does work. This is a standard. Here's our first move. This is our most likely to work, and we want to check that first. But if that doesn't work, we have a few other moves we're immediately ready to check as backup options, and here both of the backups work out. So blue shouldn't play in 5, and if they don't have a good move for 5, how about 3? So 3, 3, 7, 6 is the only safe play they have there. And here red, of course, does not have a good move in 6. They don't have a capture. And it turns out moves in 5 here aren't great for red. They look pretty appealing. They do lock up 2. But blue's 4, 7, 6, 1 plays really well here in 7. We can't set up a capture against it. And blue actually sneaks out of here with ties against moves in 5, which is a little surprising based on stuff we've covered so far. But importantly, there is no move red can play in 5 that sets up a follow-up move in 6. And so blue is freer to go wherever they want because we can't threaten them, and they have a really good move for 7 here. So moves in 5 don't work. So if we don't have a good move in 5 and we don't have a good move in 6, where do we look? Of course, we look in 7. 6, 7, 2, 3, and 7 is not actually safe, but the key, of course, for these moves is what fights against 5. And what card would blue like to put in 5? Well, there's only one card that double captures. It's 6, 2, 4, 7, and 6, 7, 2, 3, and 7 sets up a combo and 8 against that with Cactuar. So this directly fights for 5, and thus we should expect it to put blue in a tough situation. And in fact, here it wins. So looking back at this position earlier on when blue played 3, 3, 7, 6, and 3, We shouldn't expect 3 to be their best move, right? We should expect 7 to be their best move, because red has used their horizontal, not their vertical, so they are stronger up and down than side to side. Therefore, blue should want to direct the game more side to side than up and down, and 7 is more likely to be the move. From 7, sorry, lost my place in my notes, because I scan notes while doing these. I am not doing this all off the top, though I did do one, and I think it came out well, so let's pretend I could regularly. So 7 is more likely to be good, and my notes are very confused here. So let's suffice it to say there's not really a natural move in 7 there, because they can't really set up against our plays in 5 all that well. And, blue is in a very tough situation early with this capture. If you picked 6, 2, 7, 3, and 4 as your capture of the starter, there's not really a great follow-up. This was the weakest of the plans. It has a low number facing towards 5, which gives red a lot more options of how to take from 5 later on, and makes it harder to set up to control 5. So let's try a different way. Sorry for the confusion on this one. We have 6, 2, 4, 7, and 2. This, of course, takes a 6-4 lead. It has a slightly higher number facing towards 5, and perhaps there are better follow-ups. So here, I want to mention that 3, 2, 7, 6, and 3 is actually really strong for red here. Normally, the moves in 4 in this setup are much better than moves in 3. Here, 3 is actually really good. I know it's usually worse than the recapture, but here, blue can't even set up to be able to take it. They have no potential way their cards can play off each other, I think, at all, that would allow them to take it. Maybe they potentially have a move in 9, but it doesn't even look like that. So they have no moves that can ever set themselves up to have a capture in 6, and they also have used some of their upward power, so have fewer options of moves that might fit in 5. And this ends up playing really well here. I don't have a good heuristic for when red should look to play in 3 rather than 4. I mentioned a few ideas. One is if blue is missing a lot of upward power, or if blue has no natural move in 4, but it's not obvious to me to explain why this move is so strong. I would find a move like this, if I did, by calculating extensively. I don't have a kind of rule of thumb that would get me there more quickly. So I'm going to try to figure out, maybe in later videos, a way to verbalize really when we should be looking at 3 instead of 4, but I just wanted to shout out that in this case, I think 3 is a really strong move, and blue's move is quite vulnerable to it. So let's go back to the standard play. Here, red captured in 4 per usual, recaptured with Cactuar, and blue played 6, 2, 7, 3, and 3. Natural move because it's safe, but of course the question is not, is it safe? The question is, did it affect 5? Now, red has only one card they can play in 5 that captures the card in 2, and blue can plus wall it with 3, 3, 7, 6. In fact, no matter what they had played in 3, they could plus wall it. So it makes sense that blue would choose a safe card to put in 3, given that they didn't actually need to set up against 5. So now red needs to find a move. They don't have a move in 5, they don't have a move in 6, they have to go in 7. And if they have to go in 7, that's usually a pretty good sign that blue's setup is managed well. And if you picked this plan, if you picked 6, 2, 4, 7, and 2, followed by 6, 2, 7, and 3, I think that's a pretty good plan to have chosen. It was vulnerable to the move in 3, but I haven't given the tools to be able to figure out when that's going to be really scary. And this looks like a pretty good situation. So where should red go in 7? They have to find a move that can fight for 5, because blue is ready to occupy 5. Which card can occupy 5? Only one, really, 3, 3, 7, 6. So red needs to look, how can I find a move that fights for 5? And they have it here. 6, 7, 2, 3 is good there. The point is, as long as red holds on to 2, 6, 3, 6, they can compete with the move in 5 because they have the plus in 6. So as long as they didn't use that card, they were in pretty good shape. Therefore, they were choosing between 6, 7, 2, 3 to put in 7, or 3, 2, 7, 6. This card's safe, seems the better card to use. And here, blue does not have the capture in 5. They do have ties, though. 4, 7, 6, 1 turns out to just be safe in this position. It's a very strong move. and blue ties pretty easily. So again, if you picked the game plan 6, 2, 4, 7, and 2 to capture the starter, followed by 6, 2, 7, and 3, that's a pretty good game plan. And yeah. So, okay. The next example was going on to the next one. So I just want to say this was a good game plan. If you picked this, well done. I don't think it's the best way to go, but I think it's a very reasonable one and shows understanding of the stuff I've argued and talked about. So the final way to take the opening starter is 4, 7, 6, 1, and 4. This plus walls. You'll note this is a high outfacing number towards 5, which is very appealing. It's much harder to prevent red from having a good move in 5 if there are fewer good moves in 5 to be had, if overpowering is not available and they can only get there via a rule. So red's going to take back, and we should note this is the first time red has had no play at all in 5. Because we have a 7 facing towards 5, red in fact has no plus or same here, and they have no way to play in 5. And thus, now all we need to do is block 7, and our card in 4 is safe. Red does not have the standard plays. If we have something they can't take that we put in 7, that's even better, because then they won't have the backup plan of going in 8. So this is already looking very promising for blue. Which card to go in 7? Well, the pretty obvious choice, right, is going to be 7, 6, 5, 1. Red can't take it. Red is directionally weak left and right because they use their 2, 6, 3, 6. And per usual, we expect to follow up a move in 4 with a move in 7. And here, that's what we see. And this was the plan I really hope you found, where we capture their starter with 4, 7, 6, 1, which is the best way to capture and also compete for 5. And then the follow-up plan is to go in 7, exploiting the fact that red is weak left and right, and specifically to the left. So if you're red here, now we're looking for ties, right? This is very unlikely to be a good position. I think blue has handled the opening very well. We don't have moves in 5. Red doesn't have moves in 8. So we know the next square to look is going to be 3. And what move does red need to find in 3 to hold? So I've said it over and over and over again. Safety is not everything. When it accomplishes other things like fighting for 5, yes, we default to the safe move. But when it doesn't fight for 5, this is not what we want to be doing. Here, 6, 7, 2, 3 in 5 is winning, and it's blue's turn. 6, 2, 7, 3 in 5. Yeah, blue dragon wins for blue. Red did not set up anything against it. I'm really scrambled today. Sorry, I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. 6, 2, 7, 3 in 5. Blue has no combos or anything. Red has no combos. Jeez. Red has no combos or anything on this play in 5. We didn't fight for 5, and when red doesn't fight for 5, they lose. So what's a move that might fight for 5 better? Well, 6, 2, 6, 3. Now this is easily takeable by blue. You know, this one gives them a plus wall in 6. But we now have better cards left to fight against 5. And if you pause for a second, I think you'll figure out why. It's kind of clever. We do not give ourselves a plus or same in 6, but we have a deeper plan, which is to say, if they go 6, 2, 7, 3, and 5, red now wins because their exact 2 remaining cards set up really nice combos with 3, 2, 7, 6 in 9, and 6, 7, 2, 3. Balor will plus in both 6 or 8, and that's going to be enough to win. So this time, the move in 3 did not set up a move in 6, but it kept 2 cards remaining that worked really well against blue's plan and had a clever move in 9. So blue can tie here. 6, 2, 4, 7, and 5 does tie. It's not like blue is losing here, but red's going to get their biggest amount of pressure by looking for how can I possibly fight 5. And here they had to be sneaky and see this follow up in 9, but that's enough. And again, what matters here is fighting for 5. What matters isn't safety. So red can sneak out of this with a tie, but I think blue's opening is really good and just a idea worth following. And, you know, I really hope it's the variation you saw was 4, 7, 6, 1, and 4, specifically followed by 7, 6, 5, 1, and 7. Brings together everything we've talked about. It fights for 5 and gives red fewer moves in 5. It plays in 7 rather than 3, exploiting the fact that red is weak side to side. It doesn't give them a move in 8, it doesn't give them moves in 5, which forces them to go 3, and then red has to be careful to be able to tie the game. And so I hope you saw this, and if you didn't see this line, I hope you saw the idea of 6, 2, 4, 7, and 2, followed by blue dragon and 3, because I think that is the next best variation. But I hope this was a nice instance of all the stuff we've looked at kind of coming together, and I hope you found the right way to capture their starter, because I think it's a pretty reasonable way to play, and it gives some winning chances, and blue's never really losing this game. So cheers.